Today's conversation is sponsored by the Billy Keels Advisory Program. If you want to learn more about how to make your 9 to 5 optional, just go to billykeels.com/advising. Once again, that's billykeels.com/advising.
You're listening to the Going Long podcast, the #1 podcast for the strategies, tactics, and actions high wage earners need for living an intentionally designed life of wealth and resilience.
Welcome to the Going Long podcast. We're back once again to continue to help to educate you so that you feel much more comfortable as well as confident in building the wealthy and resilient life that you're looking to lead and do that much faster. And I'm your host, Billy Keels, and I am super excited to welcome you back to another one of our solo episodes. And I also want to say thank you to each and every one of you who continue to download the podcast. You continue to share it with family, with friends. You continue to talk about the content because we see you out there talking about it on social media. We see you virtually, of course. And that is because you're tagging us on social media, like LinkedIn, like Instagram. It's amazing. So we really, really appreciate that. And also, too, if you want to leave your honest written review and rating, if you haven't done that already, feel free to do that. And if you don't know how to do that, there's a little link in the show notes. It'll show you how to do it. It's super easy, super brief. And with that, I also wanted to say, if you want to check out any of the previous episodes, well over 420 at this point in time, all you need to do is go to billykeels.com/podcast and you can find the transcripts, the audio, the video, every single one of them. Just go to billykeels.com/podcast and get it all checked out. So today's very, very brief episode is going to talk about one of the things that I know a lot of people don't want to talk about, right? And for some people, it may even be a little bit like, you may not like this because I'm just going to tell you something, or I'm going to share an experience with you more than tell you something. I'm just going to share the reality of what's happening, especially if you are a big company employee. You are one of these people who's in the top talent program. You are also rising in your company. And at the same time, there's this little thing in your stomach telling you, this is really cool and I want to keep doing it, but I'm not going to do it forever. And so I need to start doing your own thing. Like, if you feel that and you know that you want to start doing your own thing, then somebody needs to tell you the truth. And that's going to be me. And the reason I say that is because as I'm speaking to people week after week, multiple people week after week, and I've already lived through this, I want to be the person that's going to shed the light on this topic. And you're already here because you know that, at some point in time, you are going to have to choose your hard. Like, it's really necessary. It is absolutely necessary. What do I mean by that? So when you are that high-performing corporate employee and you know that there's something in your gut and there's something in your mind and there's something in your heart that tells you that you should be impacting lives in a different way, you want to get started. And the reality is, look, when I was in corporate, I was doing the corporate thing. I was rising. I didn't know. I drank the Kool-Aid. I was looking to go all the way to the top. I was working the extra hours. I was taking the special projects. I was doing the special dinners and at all the corporate events and upward as I was moving up the ladder and I was building my network upward to have more upward mobility. But the reality is there was something that, although I was doing all of these things and I was in the right alliances within the company and had lots of opportunities and promotions came my way, like when I missed my son's 3rd birthday party, and I've talked about that over and over, like something inside of me changed. This whole thing that I wanted to continue to go out and make more money and have the right titles and have more people under me and all this other kind of stuff, like on the org chart, the thing that I was really looking for, I wanted to be able to have more control over my time. I wanted to be able to spend more time with really good friends. I wanted to invest more time with my sons. I wanted to be able to fly back to the United States more frequently. And I couldn't do that if I was continuing to work for someone else, because when you're in a corporation, and I knew what I was signing up for. I signed up for the gig. Like I was a happy corporate employee. A lot of you, like if you've seen my old school LinkedIn moniker, it was happy corporate employee. I thought I loved my corporate job. Come to find out, I only liked it a lot because it paid me a lot of money, a lot more than I ever thought I'd earn, especially over time. It was amazing. The other thing was I got really cool, like German luxury cars. It was awesome. I had great benefits, health-wise and dental-wise, and gas was paid for, all this kind of stuff. But the thing is, there was only 24 hours in a day, and I knew that I wouldn't continue to do that forever. Like if I was going to continue to do that forever, it was going to be absolutely exhausting, just completely exhausting. And so fortunately, I'd made some good decisions. I started networking with people that were outside of what I knew in corporate life. And so I started seeing what I call POCs, proof of concepts. It's a term that you use a lot in the application software space. You want to do a POC, you want to make sure that there is a proof of concept so that once there's a POC, a proof of concept, then you know that that works. So why not go out and try to do more? And what I mean by that, when I started meeting other people in networking groups or building relationships with people online through Zoom, et cetera, because of the things that we've kind of gone through. Well, and also I put my money where my mouth was, and I traveled to the US because I was building a real estate business at the time. And the thing is like I started putting together this 5-year plan, and I wanted to make 4 figures of income, and I wanted to be able to do that in a period of 5 years. And little did I know that when I did actually stop to choose my heart, and what I meant by that was, or what I mean by that is, are you going to continue to work the long hours that are normal in the corporate world, where you're going to continue to work 12, 14, sometimes 16 hours, which seems unbelievable, but yes, you do those types of days in corporate as well. And because that's hard. Like it's not easy. Like you're traveling all the time. You're constantly on call. You're a top talent person. You're someone who is always accessible because that phone is always near you, or your iPad's always near you, or your laptop's always near you. So that is not easy. It's hard. And at the same time, when you want to follow your passion, you found your sweet spot, you know that you want to get out there and you know you want to impact other people's lives to build your own business. That's also hard. It's not easy. Like, so anyone that's telling you like, oh, you can do this and it's only going to take you an hour a day and blah, 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 that's probably not true. You need to run the other way. So at the end of the day, when you choose your heart, and for me, I lived with both of these for a decade, almost a decade. Like I was a top performer in my corporate role, and I was overachieving in the business that I was building outside of the office. Right. And so as I was doing both of these things, I had to choose hard, but ultimately it was the payoff because I knew that I liked corporate, and I knew that I wanted to be able to serve others doing it in the way that I was happy with, the way that walked with me in my integrity. And so I started my own business, but I had to choose at a certain point, and I chose to do hard both jobs, overperforming, excelling at both. And then when it came time, I decided that it was time to exit corporate. It was time to move into living in my new best version of me. So anyone that tells you it's easy, it's not. At a certain point, you will have to choose your heart, just so that you can also exhale. Like that's really important too. So that your friends, your friends, they get the best of you, the best version of you. I know that I got to a point where I got to the money. I got the money that I needed. But more importantly for me, what I realized is that when I had a clear plan and I chose my heart, it didn't take me 5 years. It took me 18 months. Like it took a lot less time to get to the original goal. And then of course the goal changed from there. And then was able to realize even that thinking bigger, dreaming bigger, and taking action, it's possible to. But it all started with being able to choose and making the decision, which direction did I want to go? And for a while, it was, how am I going to maintain both of these directions? And then ultimately, it was able to also make that hard choice and decide that it was time to leave corporate and move on. So I hear it all the time. The questions come in the pre-advisory calls and working with advisory clients. And so it's about, how do we have this scenario? And I mentioned to you, just being honest, like you have to choose your heart. There are very specific steps that you can take. There are specific frameworks that you can follow so that when you make that decision or leading up to that decision, you are able to continue to maintain the way that you're working in both, building in one place and maybe continuing to give the results, the outcomes, and not having to put in as many hours. So, and that's a whole nother scary conversation I know I've talked about before in episode 422. So if you want to check that out, you can go check that out if you haven't already. But anyway, I want to leave it with you there. So you are going to have to choose your heart, and choosing your heart isn't easy. Like I said, it's necessary, and you're going to have to make that choice. And so while you think about this and while you think, oh my gosh, I know somebody who's actually going through this exact situation, share today's podcast, send it over to them real quick. And then after you send it over to them, say, hey, look, let's get on a phone call. Let's talk about it. What do you think about it? You're going through this situation. I've been through it. It sounds like Billy's been through it. He's talking to people that are going through it as well. Yeah. So you can use today's solo episode to help you be able to move forward and move forward faster. So once again, while you are taking this episode, putting it into action, I'll be preparing for the very next episode. So until then, go out and make it a great day. And thank you very much. Freedom! Today's conversation was sponsored by the Billy Keels Advisory Program. If you're looking to make your 9-to-5 optional and need some help, just go to billykeels.com/advising. Once again, that's billykeels.com/advising.